Diablo players are pissed. Let's talk about it, guys. So this is one of the most upvoted posts over on Reddit, and players are pretty upset.
Diablos, okay, now I'm pissed. Events. Oh, people are still going on about the holiday event.
Now, what this has to do with and why this is getting so many upvotes is because of the most recent Halloween event. If you guys haven't seen what the Halloween event is, I'll kind of sum it up. But basically, there is these shrines. You can click on them and get these treasure bags that will drop 2 random legendaries, which is pretty much worthless for 99% of the players that have actually put time and they're pretty much min-max. They're just not getting those aspects. You do get free cosmetics, but at the end of the day...
Free cosmetics, you also got some good Obduk side, though.
Having a butcher randomly spawn in that is the exact same, that doesn't drop anything specifically new, doesn't allow the players to feel excited about this event. It's kind of, you log in, you get your daily, and then that was it. It was a very lackluster event, to say the least. But there is...
I mean, it's definitely true, like, the event itself was not well received, and it wasn't, like, really crazy in terms of rewards, but, yeah, we got some free stuff. And all people are still like angry about it.
Something else coming out called the Azeroth Unleashes Some Eternal War, and I was really excited about this when I saw this posted because I check Blizzard out all the time. I was like, what the heck is this event, right? So I go into it, and this is why people are pissed, because at first I was looking at this and I'm like, wait, why are they mad? Now notice some of the icons here. So first off, let's go over what is in this Eternal War event login. Okay, so for the logins, you can see that there's multiple things. There's one of them that you can choose. There is going to be like these different
look at all these cool rewards.
And then on top of that, you get to legitimately battle the Lich King. That is a proper collab / event. When we had like the WoW...
Yeah, you're gonna be fighting the Lich King, man, in Diablo.
Event in Diablo 4 is basically just
okay, I didn't even know about this.
So it's you either buy the skins.
Yeah, obviously the contrast is gonna look like very bad.
That's it. That was the version of their collab. Whereas now, with this, you could actually battle the Lich King, and I think that's cool. That'd be cool to see a raid boss or a brand new, pinnacle boss to go ahead and defeat and get some awesome rewards.
I would have loved that in
before. Looks like Stitches if you guys have played HOTS, right? But on top of that, there is more than just that. There is actually going to be a face-off in a cutthroat basin. So the forces of Alliance and Horde war against each other. So there's going to be a battlefield, and you can battle it out. Probably some new sort of mechanics, hopefully, in this. But I was really excited about this. I was like, wow, this is actually going to be a godly event. I'm really excited.
Look at the Frostmourne sword here again. Like, yeah, that looks sick.
In this.
Look at this here. Damn, dude. Yeah, I would totally dig having a weapon like that on my Barbarian, dude. Like this, is transmogging my grandfather, like the sword of Frostmourne, the Lich King himself, man. Let's go.
But I was really excited about this. I was like, wow, this is actually going to be a godly event. I'm really excited about this. And I started looking down, and there's also, here's where it kind of revealed itself, where it says that 2-star gem.
Then he realized, man, you gotta pay.
What's a gem, right? Are we in Diablo 3? Well, and then on top of that, there's also a Murloc Invasion, so there's another familiar skin that you can go ahead and
it's in the store, you know, but you gotta pay for all of it. Like, they could have made an event that you actually earn it, and, you know, that's a crazy idea, right? Like, you would earn the transmog by literally playing the game, rather than just wielding your credit card.
And I was looking at this, I'm like, oh wait, hold on, because it was talking about gems. I'm like, okay, is this D4 then? Because that's where I was thinking via the graphics over here. There's also Betrayer Bonds Phantom Market, which I'm not sure if it's like an...
Dude! Yes.
RNG system. Sometimes some games have that where it's like an RNG system.
That is a cool event, man.
This is like the drop rate for it, but basically there's a pretty cool skin, right, to go ahead and achieve with this event. And then, you know, obviously once it said 2-star gem, I kind of realized where it was from, and that's because this is not for Diablo 4, but for Diablo Immortal and World of Warcraft. Now, while I want Diablo Immortal and all video games in general to have cool events...
Yeah, the problem is not that Diablo Immortal has a cool event. Just in comparison, Diablo Immortal got this, and then, yeah, Diablo 4 got the Halloween event. Huh.
I felt like Diablo 4 should have had at least as equal to Diablo Immortal's event. I would say even if they copy and pasted the events, I would have been totally fine with having some battlegrounds, some extra rewards, and a new raid boss of something that was, you know, in another video game. That is what I would consider a proper collab, not just here's some skins, if you buy them, that's it. Now, I did cover the skins, and while some of the skins do look cool, I think there could be a lot more to an event in Diablo, especially since they put up a blog post called the Meet or Treat, and then when the thing actually came out, it was, again, not received very good by the community. myself included, I ranted about.
I personally, I didn't really mind too much, right? Like there was still so much stuff to figure out, so many more builds to do on the Spiritborn. And this has like been like 10 days ago now or something. And I didn't really care like all too much, but I see like why, like, you know, someone that is like used to like having these events in World of Warcraft be awesome and stuff. I never played World of Warcraft very much, so I'm like happy with like every, you know, like bit of content that we get in Diablo 4 to a degree, right? So I didn't really mind because it was free. We got some transmogs and we got some like acceptable stuff, like pretty decent. But yeah, I mean, if you see the comparison like this, I could definitely see why, you know, like when people are used to this from Blizzard and then they get the Halloween event in D4, like, yeah, it's not a good comparison for sure.
About it in a specific video, but there is some light at the end of the tunnel with this because there is going to be a brand new campfire chat, and that's going to be on November 12th.
Next week, my friends.
If you guys want the summary of it, I'll go ahead and sum it up once it actually does come out. But for the most part, people want to see what is this like mid-seasonal update, and I want to go over kind of the pain points that hopefully will be addressed. And as a Diablo partner,
They're even talking about content, man. Content, new content.
Going to go ahead and actually write up
obviously
some stuff
class
before
builds.
this, and hopefully they can answer some of these questions, or at least let us know that they hear us from the complaint department over here. So this is a big issue with Diablo in general. Is just the game itself does not run very smooth after the most recent update.
So today, guys, we're streaming for 4 hours. I crashed 3 times already, and this is after patches and patches of stability improvements. It is getting better with the crashes, but we're still crashing. I don't know about you, my friends. Let me know in the comments. But I'm still like experiencing the game not running as smooth as before the expansion. I still have that problem.
Update. I was even getting issues myself. I had the game crash after the update for the meet or treat.
It's also like lagging like my entire PC for some reason. Like whenever I go into the loading screen, I'm having like some sort of like memory leak or whatever it is, and my entire PC freezes for like 2 seconds and I can't fix it.
Event, which was the Halloween event, and then a lot of people were saying my game won't even run, I'm getting crashes consistently, and it was definitely a problem. I noticed my frame rates were dropping a lot more, specifically after the Halloween event, and every single day they're just keep on pumping out, like, look at all of these like patch notes.
Yeah, I played World of Warcraft for almost 15 years, just started Diablo, and I gotta say I'm underwhelmed with the holiday event cleared. Yeah, I mean, I could see it from that perspective for sure. I'm just not used to having these like cool events, man.
It's just they couldn't get the game to run correctly with some sort of update. Something broke the game essentially, and that's probably why they are, addressing it, consistently, and that's good.
Yeah, I think we had like 3 or 4 different patches where it was just stability improvements, and that's great to see. But I think it's still not quite there yet, in my opinion, or at least from my experience, right?
That they're constantly doing it, but at some point, even though the game is trying to fix itself, and they're saying, guys, we hear you on the crashes, and they removed, I think, DLSS at one point because it was just causing some sort of issue. It still just needs to work properly, and I think that is something that maybe just needs to be baked longer in. I don't know if it was specifically the Halloween event that caused all these issues, but it could be something in the background that they're trying to work on that may come out later, and it's kind of just like a background patch that also caused the issue. But there's a lot of other pain points that I think that should be addressed, and hopefully these will be addressed in the campfire. And I'm also curious to know how you guys feel about some of these subjects, as I'm going to give you guys my opinion on.
Yeah, this is a good topic as well. Like, obviously, this is just because the power level of Spiritborn, but yeah, the other classes aren't even close to it, right? And then we also have the issues of the duplication exploit. We have the issue of people masterworking items up to 54 times. And yeah, just a ton of like different snapshotting stuffs. Like people even found a way now to have permanent 200% movement speed on the Spiritborn with some bug with the mount where they basically just have 200% movement speed all the time, buffing their brilliance up like crazy. And like all these like bugs, like gem swapping, and like there's a lot of stuff, man.
And also send it to Blizzard as a partner. But anyways, this person over here had a huge amount of upvotes. I mean, this is almost at 1,000. It's 700, and this was just posted hours ago today. Are we all actually pretending that one-shotting a boss pinata 500 times is a quality gameplay? So what they're talking about is basically saying that the boss needs to be way harder, but the drop rate is way higher. And well,
and I don't know why they went away from this concept of having like a boss at a certain torment level. Like you take, I don't know, you take Duriel as an example, right? And we had this before, like where you could summon Duriel, like here, And right now I'm on like Torment 4, and we can only summon like the base version of Duriel. But like it would be super cool. It costs 2 materials each. But what if we could just pay, and they had this before in the game, but they took it out. But what if we could just pay like, 5 times the materials and then have a harder version of Duriel to fight? Like they completely took this out. Like the Uber bosses, for example. Because yeah, like going there, one-shotting the boss and then having to do this all the time, all over again. Like it gets boring, it gets dull. And even other classes than Spiritborn can one-shot the Duriel boss on Torment 4. And we will not, like, it would be cool to have, like, I don't know, a boss that's at least 100 times harder and then just costs, like, 10 times the math, but also drops 10 times the loot.
I would say that...
Because they significantly decreased the mythic chance as well, right? I don't know about you guys, but I feel I'm getting way less Resplendent Sparks and just way less Uber Uniques in general this entire season than I was last season. So... like the boss is on Torment 4, and it's only the normal version with the like low drop rate of like 1% or like 0.5%. And like we're kind of missing this like uber version of the boss, or whatever they want to call it, that costs more materials and then drops you more uniques. Like if you have a strong character, like it should like be significant in Torment 4.
Depending on how much time that you actually put in, it may equal out to be the same. So like if the boss takes like a half an hour to fight and you're just not one-shotting it and it's really difficult, is that going to really change your opinion on the game?
Yeah, but no one is fighting a boss for half an hour.
To defeat the boss, I would say nowadays when people have already like one-shotted a boss, going back to when you can't one-shot it just kind of feels really bad. But at the same time, I totally agree with, yeah, killing like, on Duriel like thousands of times, and I'm not even kidding when I say thousands of times.
It is thousands of times because the drop rate's so goddamn low.
In one season when we're trying to farm for the exact same piece of gear that we had already farmed for several seasons ago, is that what we want for the actual endgame pinnacle content? And I always kind of refer back to Diablo 2 or other action RPGs.
It definitely feels like you have to do it, because if you want any sorts of Ubers, like the only real way, I mean there's Undercity, but it's bugged, and the only real way to really get the materials to craft mythics or to get mythics is to do Uber bosses. There's no other way, and they just die in one hit on almost all the classes, and it just takes forever.
That may have actually had PvP or MMOs, because once I kind of like max out my character, what am I doing with it? The difference between doing a pit 50 and a pit 150, what's the actual difference? Yeah, the monsters have more HP, but is my brain engaged more? Sure, if the monsters are a little bit more tough, I may need to group them up, but for the most part, it doesn't seem like it's like endgame brand new content. Again, with the expansion pack, there's something I kind of ranted on about, but pretty much the expansion didn't really allow us to do really anything new other than like the rune words. Like we're not gonna sit there and spam the Citadel again and again. And the Undercity, people still reporting that they're not even getting the loot when they're putting it in the tributes.
We just played the Undercity, guys. Out of, I think we did like 20 runs. So we already established with the Undercity. We did 20 runs. I crashed on 3 of them. So 3 runs were a crash, no loot, because they fixed it so that you can't even join your party again in the Undercity. So like you go in a party, then you crash, and you cannot join back the party, even though it's your key that you open it. So they fixed it for the worse. Like you play in a party, somebody crashes, he cannot join back the party until the run is complete. And then also, a lot of times, like when you're trying to get this Obduk side, you're still not getting any loot. I think about in another, like, okay, in 3 runs I crashed, and then in 5 runs I didn't get any loot. Like, even though we clearly did use the Tribute of Refinement, we just didn't get any loot. So yeah, there's multiple bugs with this as well that I hope will be addressed next week in the Campfire chat, in the mid-season patch.
So I don't know what's up with that. They have said they patched it several times. I can tell you for sure it was not working at the start, and that is a pretty big issue when you have a new mechanic that does not work and the game is crashing.
Because I think in general the Undercity is pretty cool. Like I really enjoy doing it. I think it's a very nice addition to the game, but it is definitely still bugged, and they made it worse for group play as well. I really hope there's going to be another like hotfix or addition to this.
There's just a lot of problems, honestly, with Diablo 4 that like it makes me think that like we just need to maybe go back a couple patches or something, because overall the game doesn't feel as good as it did in Season 5. And I've actually stated this even earlier on when I was talking about like the PTR. The drop rates were just kind of bad. But
yeah, I mean, I don't fully agree with that. Like, I definitely feel the game is going in a better direction. But to a lot of points that he just raised, and also some other points, for example, like the build variety, like I feel we always get a cool build, and then it gets nerfed. Like we had this happen with Ball Lightning, we had this happen with Hodabab. This patch, it was the Spin to Win Rogue. We had the Storm Slide Druid, we had the Shout Druid, we had the Bone Spear Necromancer. Like a ton of cool builds. Hodabab, like a ton of cool builds that happened, that were in the game, just got nerfed. And like those builds never really see any more playtime, right? So to some degree, yeah, we kind of making like 2 steps forward and then 1 step backward in many directions, in my opinion.
we still kind of need some sort of auction house, and this is something that I want to tie in towards the very end, is like the dupes and the bugs that are going on with some of the stuff that people are doing in the game. It's pretty annoying not to have a way to actually have an auction house in the game when we already had an auction house. Not talking about a real money auction house.
And people are getting scammed all the time. People are still duplicating items, and they're just scamming other people by selling those items as legit items, and then they poof, they disappear, they're gone. People are losing their hard-earned gold, whatever. And it's just very unhealthy for the entire game.
But I think that there comes
and we had dupes every season, including this season, and we'll probably have dupes all the next seasons as well, because they're just not fixing it.
Where it's so annoying to trade that it would just be nice to see it in game. The reason why they probably won't add it into the game yet is because there's so many like bugs and glitches and dupes that are going on. They don't want someone in the game to actually be able to, I guess, have the ability to inflate the market. And I
think an auction house would make it way more obvious that how many dupes and how many duplications there already actually are in the game. So yeah, but that still is not a good argument to not make an auction house. Like obviously they gotta fix this dupe situation once and for all, and then they gotta, like, in my opinion, it would be the best for the game to have some sort of marketplace auction house without the real money part, like just a normal auction house, gold versus items, so people are not getting scammed with this.
Kind of get that, but at the same time, to ruin it for
the auction house could be like a control check, right? Like if somebody puts the same item ID as somebody else, like just have the item disappear or something. I don't know how it works technically, but they should definitely be able to track this kind of stuff.
You know, the 2 or 3% of the players that would probably like ruin the market. I don't know, maybe they just need to release it and then eventually patch it out.
Dude, they have an auction house in Warcraft, in World of Warcraft. They are going to have an auction house in Path of Exile 2. And I think it only makes sense. It's clearly what a lot of the players want. Like, they like trade. I mean, a lot of people like trading. Not everybody, but a lot of people like trading. And you obviously like trading in a safe way on a safe platform without getting scammed.
That's more than likely what's going to happen at the end of the day. Anyways, when they said they wanted to scrunch the numbers up, obviously that didn't work. And I guarantee you, when they make the auction house, if they do, it's going to be a system where someone breaks it, someone figures out some crazy duping or bugs.
Dude, you guys remember in Diablo 3? Like, in Diablo 3's auction house? It was so bad, man. You could just change the clock. Like, there was auctions, right? They had like a time fix. And people, like, early on, man, there was a bug that you could just change your local clock off your computer, and that would, like, trick the auction house into thinking it was a different time. And, like, man, it was crazy back in the days. Like, they definitely have some bad experience with Diablo 3, but I think they've learned and they've come a long way since then. That was, like, more than 10 years ago, right? So, auction house, man, it works in so many other games, and I think it would also work very well in Diablo 4.
And then they're gonna patch it, and
in World of Warcraft it's amazing, right? Like they have it working in other games. I don't know, Diablo 3 is just tainted with this like real money auction house and the problems that we had in D3. But I mean, this is like 12 years ago, and I think we've come a long way and learned a lot.
Mindset of I just expect things almost in Diablo 4 to come out broken and not working. And it's disappointing to say that, but that's the reality of this game. Consistently, there's just so many problems. This glyph isn't working. This legendary node is, not working as well. But nonetheless,
that is also pretty bad. Like you have something in the game, it tells you X, but then it does Z. Like I don't know, like it tells you like it does this, but it doesn't do it. This happens so often, and it's actively misleading players, like the tooltips and stuff. And man, that is really a lot of confusion. Like
that's the reality of it. But the other thing I really want to talk about is the Ancestral drop rate. Tempering we'll talk about. I still think the tempering and masterworking system is just terrible. Like, I don't like RNGing it every single time and just sitting there. Oh, did I get it? There's no skill involved in it. It's just like, did you hit it?
Yeah, but people like Gamba, right? Like, I feel him on the tempering and bricking stuff, but people just like to gamble, man.
It's a 1 in 5 chance. Did you hit it 3 times in a row? No, we'll go reset it. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm being valued for my time. So hopefully they can talk about maybe getting checkpoints. So you go from, 4 out of 4, and if I reset, it doesn't go to 0, but it then resets to 4 out of 4. So that way, even though it still sucks, it's random, at least there's checkpoints. So at like 4, 8, and 12, those are the checkpoints, and I can reset.
You think it's only 4, 8, and 12, man? People are masterworking their items 50 times.
My item in those checkpoints. Let me know, guys, what you think of that, as I want to give them that as a somewhat suggestions. I honestly think that the better idea for tempering is just, I could just choose what I want, hit enchant. That's how it works in Dragon Age, and honestly, like, it felt so good just to be like, I almost swap my enchant. Like, it's so smooth and easy. And I
just make it like cost more, but make it the guaranteed then. Like, I don't know, you can choose to pay 10 times more, but then at least you're getting it, right?
Like that. Or you can make it cost, some sort of material or whatever, but you get to just choose what you want. I just don't like the RNGing of tempering and masterworking. And as far as the Ancestral drop rates, these are just way too low. I'm sure a lot of you guys, including myself, we do not have those aspects up. And I think that I would really like to have my max aspects at this point after playing for like 100+ hours. If I'm not getting a trade, I'm not getting the max rolled aspect. That's a big issue in the game that I think needs to be calculated. And then,
yeah, I mean, here I feel, in my opinion, it's fine having those aspects like being a big hunt. I think what they could do is just have a higher like chance to get Ancestrals. Because then you would also get a higher chance of getting those aspects, right? Like you see here, like I just made this bar, right? And I almost have no aspects on the max level, but that also gives me something to hunt for. It gives the game longevity. And again, it's completely optional to have these like perfect aspects. Like we are a few weeks into the game, like we don't have to have all the perfect aspects to make our character work. So in that direction, I think it's fine having some longevity, but I would definitely like to see the Ancestral drop rate being buffed substantially. Because then you still have the aspect hunt, but you're gonna have a higher chance, and also a higher chance of getting Ancestrals.
And also, just talking about like Paragon, I feel like the grind is still simply too long. I think a lot of people just feel like, oh, I'm never gonna reach Paragon 300, and I think that's
fine again, because it's optional. You don't have to be Paragon 300 to finish your build. So I think for those of you who don't know, guys, the halfway point of Paragon 300 is Paragon 283 something. Like between 283 and 284. So unless you're like 283, you're not even halfway to 300. But I think that's okay, because like the last like 10, 15 levels, they barely give you anything. They basically give you nothing. No real big power increase. So I don't think they need to, I don't know, like buff the XP substantially or make it like so that you can do it in like 1 week or something. Like having something to do in the end game is not a bad thing. That's the aspect hunt, that's the paragon hunt. You still get like very, very tiny, power buffs for your character, but it's nothing mandatory. You can still, quote unquote, finish your character without having every aspect perfect and being like Paragon 300 perfect. Because if they buff this, people are just going to complain like, I don't know, I played for 5 days, I'm Paragon 300, I have my entire character perfect, what do I do now? Like having something to hunt for is good. As long as it's not like, crazy power spike that's unobtainable for a casual player. But again, I don't think a casual player has to be Paragon 300. It's completely fine if you're like 250, 260, your build's finished, and you don't have to be that level, and let it there for those people that like to play the game a little more than like just on a casual base. So you can still get a very, very, tiny reward for investing a lot more time.
They should make it so the average player should be able to hit Paragon 300 within a reasonable time frame. I know the people that play 30 hours a day, they're at 300. For me,
30 hours a day.
I just don't find the Paragon grind to be fun, but you guys can let me know how you feel about that. Do you guys like the long grind? Because technically, we're supposed to last until January with this game.
Exactly.
But I feel like Diablo 4 is moving into Diablo 3 section where it's like, okay, you have...
Yeah, again, I mean, let me know in the comments how you feel about this. I don't think like every casual gamer has to go to Paragon 300. I don't think they should go to Paragon 300. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
For 2 weeks, and then the game...
That's why they kept the Paragon board, guys. So you don't have to do this. You know, like, what are you really getting? Like, I'm obviously Paragon 300, right? But I've been Paragon 300 for like 3 weeks now, and I would love to get even more XP. But, you know, it's okay. I understand. There needs to be a cap somewhere. But they already kept the boards, you know. And all we're getting is, I don't know, some like additive damage here that doesn't really do anything for our character. Like here, 10% additive. But you know what my glyph is giving me? 1,400% on one glyph. So who cares if I have this 10% damage? It's not even going to give me 1% damage. Like not even 0.1%, like maybe 0.1. But you know, like you get the idea. Like we have like thousands and thousands of additive damage. Like getting one more additive damage node or like some, I don't know, so like some extra resistance is like super irrelevant for most builds.
Gets pretty stale, and we move on to other games when we wait for the next season. And I think that letting us max out on Paragon earlier makes me, at least, and I'm curious to know how you guys feel, want to play other classes. Because at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm like Para 250-ish right now. Do I really want to make another class? Well, I kind of want to get my Para to 300, and then I'll make...
Yeah, I think that's awesome, though, right? You have the shared Paragon, so... I don't know, you can get the Paragons on your Spiritborn, like I did, for example, and then you can still play on the Barb, and, you know, you can try to have some fun. Like, all the other classes feel pretty horrible right now. That's a whole different class balance issue. But the Paragons is account shared, so you have it on the entire account-wide, and I think that's amazing.
Other classes. But if I was able to hit Para 300 a lot earlier on, I would still have to level up all of the glyphs, and then the long grind of the aspects, which is basically impossible for a lot of players unless you engage in trade, which has its own issues because of inflation and people duping and stuff.
People duping.
This is something that kind of ties in the item drops.
Yeah, they definitely can't balance the game around people duping. It just doesn't work. They just gotta fix the dupe.
Played the previous season, I myself was able to max out in all the aspects relatively quick. It's just too long of a grind specifically for the aspects, and also like the fact that items are not good unless it's GA. I mean, you eventually will get stuff if you just keep on playing. You can just like the Hell Tides, and then you can open up like gloves if you need to get a GA glove. It's like
playing.
When you want that specific
I see where it's
range
coming
to
from,
core
but
skills
I
or
think it's
something like
fun.
that, or just some sort of currency to maybe make an item GA or add GAs onto an item would be something to consider, because to get an item that is like 1 GA versus like a triple or quadruple GA, those are big increments of power, but the amount of grind that's required for the player is just simply too long unless, again, you engage in trade, which is done by a third-party website, which, again, you can get scammed, your items can disappear.
Yeah, the scamming is on a whole level, man, like a whole another level. Like, so many people have been scammed, it's crazy. And with the dupes, it's just like there's no safe way to trade. And like, if you trade with strangers, like, you're just gonna get some dupe perfect item. Like, it's very difficult at the moment to trade.
Rough system. Another thing that I think would be really good, and this is actually like really bad game design in my personal opinion, is that they had all these new runes, and then they're like, okay, we have a rune tab, but there's so many new runes that they don't even fit in the tab. So make the tab big enough to fit just the amount of runes that exist in the game. I think that was an oversight that is like poor optimization. Why would you have a special inventory for a specific thing like the runes and the gems, but you legitimately can't even hold one of each type because there's literally not enough room? Like, it's just optimization UI just...
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of this stuff, right? It's not only the gems. Like, it's the same for the keys. Like, do you see these two keys? Infernal Horde Compass. 8 waves, 8 waves. They are the same key, but for some weird reason, they do not stack. And then you have these here. These are the tributes. It's also a key. And then these do stack. Like, this is just like, why? You know, like, it's exactly the same. I mean, I get it for Nightmare Dungeons. You have these, like, different affixes, right? But on the Infernal Hordes, man, it's the exact same key. This node is literally like a dupe. Like, there would be only 3. There's level 10, there's 8 waves, there's 10 waves, and there's 6 waves. But why the hell do all these not stack? Like look at this. Like, I have like wave 8. Like, I have like 5 times wave 8. It could just be 1 slot instead of 5. Like, I mean, come on. And then we have this still with the consumables. Like, some consumables, they stack 250. Some others, like these ones here, they stack to 20. And then some others, like these ones, they stack to 99. And like everything is different. Like why do we have so many different caps? And then these stack to 99. And like, can't they all just stack to 9,999 or something? Like, why can we only like have 50 of these in one trade? Like, I don't know, man. Like, is it to avoid duping? Like, I don't know. That really didn't work.
Needs to be kind of looked at. And it's like, if you just played the game, you'd see that, okay, that I don't know how many runes, like what is it, like 30 something runes, 40 runes, but like let's say that there's that amount, but your inventory can't hold it. It's just, again, something I think we should scroll down. And then again, people are complaining, as I see this time and time again, as far as
That's
like, you know, upgrading your glyphs, your tempering and masterworking. It's just not fun to have the system where it's just like, oh, RNG. Again, it doesn't value the player's time, although the glyph upgrades, because you can only upgrade.
Yeah, I think the unnecessary like Tetris here with the runes and this kind of stuff, it just fills an entire stash step. There's just no other way of playing around with it. It's just gonna like fill a stash step, and it's gonna fill this inventory, and you have to constantly put them into this stash step, or else you're gonna run out of space in your inventory and you leave the runes on the ground because you can't pick them.
Eventually you will upgrade it. I don't feel it as bad, but I don't know how I feel about like this, because sometimes when like you have this like 70 chance per upgrade and you fail it 4 times in a row, and it's like, come on, it's annoying, I get it, but sometimes people like this. So again, let me know your thoughts on that.
It's not super bad.
But another thing that is something that is more on the high level, this is more so for the people that do fully min-max a character, which as of right now it's pretty difficult to do it, but there are so many people trying to trade duped items. And then there's also what's even worse is that sometimes people that are listing these items, they don't even want gold. People are trying to, they're like, give me PayPal money. And this is where it gets to be really bad. We need a system where we can actually buy it in-game with gold. Not real money, but again...
Give me your PayPal link, guys. Obviously, this is against the terms of service. And then there's still a high chance you're gonna get scammed by the other person anyways. So don't do it.
People don't even...
You're risking your account, and obviously you're risking to get scammed. You send them the money, they give you a duped item, well, and then it's gonna disappear, or they don't even give you the item in the first place.
Want golden game because they don't even want it. It's just not worthy, because we're getting like, if we go to like the True Whispers, you get the greater
inflation
cash,
is
right?
also
real. 10 million gold, right? And that's not even common to get that greater thing of gold. But when you are trading for billions, like it's like 20 billion for a max rolled aspect, right? And then
20 billion? I don't know, like if you want to buy like an interdiction, how much is it, chat? It's like 60 billion for like a perfect interdiction aspect or something, like for the Spiritborn. I think the prices are crazy. 70 billion. Yeah, there we go, man. Like, that's almost gold cap just for a perfect aspect.
And you have the amount of gold that's given in-game. So
because gold, the problem is gold has no value. Like, you can't do anything with gold other than buy new items. But if those people don't want to, like, trade the items versus gold, because, again, gold has not really a big value, and the currency is just inflating because there's not really a good way to get rid of the gold. And an auction house could fix that as well. The way it worked in Diablo or in other games as well, that you have a fee. Like you sell an item on the auction house. Let's say you sell an item for 10 billion. 20% of it is going to go to Blizzard, or it's going to disappear as an auction house transaction fee. I don't know, however many percent. And then this 20% of that 10 billion would be 2 billion gold that gets taken out of the economy, right? To like stop the inflation. But like right now, like the prices will only go up. Like it's going to be a couple days, and then these perfect aspects is going to cost 99 billion gold cap. This is just like, it's just inevitable because people farm more and more gold, and there's only very small amounts of gold that get taken out of the economy, masterworking or like rerolling an item. But this only costs a few million. And if you have like hundreds of billions and trillions of gold floating around, because of dupes and other methods, like they can just dupe an item and then sell the item to the vendor and generate infinite gold, essentially, right? So it is a massive problem for sure. And if they had an auction house, that could have been easier detected. There could have been a fee, and we could have had like not this crazy inflation, and players could be way more safe.
low. And it's not like you could just increase the amount of gold that you're getting in game, because that would just make the trade websites even worse, because you can't even trade for the amount of gold that people want because they just would prefer PayPal money. That is where it becomes even bigger.
I mean, it's already happening on the trade websites. Like, people are selling like some GG items for like 300 billion gold, and you have to literally have 3 accounts to even hold that gold. And it gets very shady very fast.
Problem. But even worse than that, people are just getting their gold vanished. So people have also reported items going away. I haven't had this issue.
Okay, I haven't seen... Wait, actually, there was a video, right? We had a video of somebody, like, losing the items and the gold. Yeah, watch this here. Like, they sent this to me the other day. So this guy here, obviously he's trading a perfect item. This is a perfect Banished Lords. And man, this is like so crazy. Like, you don't trade perfect items with other people that you don't know, especially if they look like this, man. It's just, man, it's so crazy. Like, it's every time I see a video like that, man. See, he has perfect item. And look, he gets another perfect item. He locks the offer in. He accepts the trade. And now he has another perfect Banished Lords. 100% perfect. And this one is duped. Now, the same 2 items gonna go back on the same inventory. And what happens? There's no cut in this video, by the way. And the item is gone. Like, ain't that crazy? Like, how does that happen? Yeah, nice scam. The gold is gone and the amulet is also gone. So the gold is poof and the amulet's poof. Man.
So I can't like say that I've seen it. Perhaps
We've
it's
seen
a
it.
server issue, but like people have reported their inventory, like things are just going away in their inventory, and then also gold. My guess, honestly,
I've seen this multiple times. It's not the only video.
Is that some people are buying gold, and it could be duped gold. At the end of the day, they lost out on some stuff, and maybe that they were 100% legit. Maybe
I mean, it's a shocker. They can dupe items, so they can dupe gold. Like, they can just dupe any item and sell it to the vendor, and they can produce infinite gold.
they just traded an item and
Like,
they got
duping is bad. We don't have to discuss this.
duped gold. How is it their fault? And it kind of sucks for them, but at the end of the day, they need to try to monitor the trade system a little bit better. This is one of the pillars of an action RPG. This was at GDC, I think in like 2019, when Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games, he did this like whole thing. It was a really great video, but he's talking about the core pillars of an action RPG. And actually, I kind of want to bring this up because I actually do find it pretty relevant for this conversation.
I saw that video.
And this also kind of ties into why Diablo players are mad. So let's look at like the post over here. So Diablo's got that combat, right? We slightly have randomly generated levels, like the Nightmare Dungeons are kind of crafted, but for the
This is definitely a very big plus for Diablo 4, the combat.
part, the pit is kind of that. And then the randomly generated items, pretty much, that is kind of missing, I want to say. A lot of times right now, it's like you have like your kind of go-tos, and that's just like, objectively, this is pretty much the best. So I'll say that one's kind of halfway there. And then the secure online.
I mean, on the item part, I agree, but on the levels, there's definitely like quite some randomness. It could be more, but I think no pit is exactly like the other pit.
Economy is not existent in Diablo 4. It's just
secure online economy. Yo, man, it's not secure. Like, not at all. Like, I think this one gets like 0 points, man. Like, on a secure online economy. That's a rip. Deep character customization. Not deep yet, but the customization is decent. Like, you can do a lot, and at the end game, like, it can get pretty complex. Not as crazy as PoE, of course, but it also doesn't have to be. I thought they get most of these pillars pretty decent, but yeah, the economy and the amount of hacks and dupes that are happening, and also like not action. Like, they're not really like, people are like losing the confidence in them to fix this, because it has not happened once. It has not happened twice. It has happened not even 3 times. It has happened every season and the launch. And it is still happening right now in the game.
just absolutely terrible because, well, as far as trade goes, what are you going to do? Spam the trade channel, WTS, want to buy, want to sell, and then you like list like random items. This is like very archaic back in the Guild Wars 1 days when I used to just copy and paste and I would spam on every single town. It wasn't a good way to trade at all. This is terrible. We needed an auction house or somewhere to actually trade
I've asked this question many times in some of the interviews that I've gotten with some of the developers, and like I continue to ask this, but they still don't have plans. Like they stated this very publicly many times. No plans at the moment to do auction house. They have a trading channel in the game. That's like the go-to response. And yeah, I mean, like there's this trading channel in the game, right? Like look at this. Like there's this trading channel I can post in. Okay, you guys can't even see this, but yeah. There's some random people posting some random stuff. Selling Jarun. Like you see, this is the trading channel. There's like no way to filter anything. Like in 2024, man, almost 2025. This is, yeah, some people spam in there and, you know, like, I don't know. This is just like, you can't have a trading channel, right? That is not enough.
In-game. And as far as deep character customization, this is another very big issue with Diablo, and I think why a lot of players are pissed and kind of burnt out of the game. And it really comes down to kind of playing the same thing. When you have Spiritborn being so crazy, there was another issue that I saw, which was another player saying that, like, I can't even get a group. If I'm not Spiritborn, people just kick me out of the group. Well, I want to say that maybe his build actually sucks. I really don't know.
Suck,
I mean, like...
No, it's not about the build. Like, Spiritborn is 10 million times stronger than all the other classes, and thus... Unfortunately, in public games, you are getting kicked out of the party, out of some parties, if you are not playing the Spiritborn. Because it's just going to be useless in comparison to a Spiritborn. You're going to be useless. And that's obviously not a good feeling.
That could be the issue. But for the most part, most people should be able to complete the Citadel, which is an area that people are getting kicked out if they weren't playing the Spiritborn, apparently. But again, I mean, it doesn't matter what class you're playing. The Citadel is pretty easy content. But Diablo lacks that deep character customization, and the reason why is because it kind of comes down to you have like these core skills, and then the rest of the skills are just unusable. And a lot of the skills, just in general in Diablo, are basically rendered impossible to actually make a build out of because they are so far behind. The difference between like
I'm just saying like core skills on Barbarian, for example. But this
build,
is more like a balance issue.
And a bad build is just too far away. But this is a little kind of a rant video at this point, but I want to know what you guys think about the current game state. Let me know your thoughts down below, but that's kind of what I feel like that needs to be addressed in Diablo's future, especially with the more recent Campfire chat that is coming out very soon. So hopefully they can address some of these issues, even if they can't fix them. Like, where the heck is the armory, man? I've been waiting for the armory.
Armory is gonna come next year, guys. They're working on it. It's coming, hopefully, in 2025.
It is...
Hopefully.
Kind of ties into that deep character customization.
I mean, they could surprise us with the mid-season patch. But do you believe that? I mean, I hope... But I don't think so. And they gotta be really careful with the armory. Because in the history of Diablo, we had, like in Diablo 3, the armory actually eating your items. For example, this happened with gems. Like the armory would take your perfect Bane of the Stricken that takes very long to upgrade to level 150. And then you switch some builds and then whoop, some magic happens and your item disappears. And then obviously the duping keyword comes back. Whenever they make the armory, like some way to switch, you know, your items, your builds and stuff, there could also be another dupe method yet again. So, I mean, this feature needs to be tested like heavily, and I think they need a PTR or some test server where the public can test this feature before they release it. Else we're just gonna have like new duping methods, or people are losing items with the armory and things like that. It's not going to be that easy for them. So I think it's going to come in 2025. Next year, guys, we're going to get an armory.
When we're all playing Quill Volley or like one of the core skills, I think we could see a little bit more play with it. But hopefully they can address this as Path of Exile 2 is coming out. And, well, a lot of Diablo players are looking at that game like a hawk.
Looking forward to play it.
I'm going to play it regardless. I've been playing Path of Exile.
Oh, we're going to play both games. I mean, it's going to be like super cool having multiple games. And this also just makes the game, or the games, a lot better. Like having some competition is good for the games, for the players, for the customers, for us, because that means that companies can't get away with everything, right? I've talked about this before, guys. Just imagine if we did not had this crazy pushback here against Diablo Immortal, for example, you know, and if there would not be competition, if it was only up, like, you know, company gotta make money, they gotta like do what's best for the investors and stuff. And yeah, they're gonna use whatever makes them the most money. But if people are pushing back versus some of the things, like pay to win, for example, rightfully so, it's gonna be way harder for them, you know, because it's gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna lose players, we're gonna lose reputation if we make the game pay to win and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, competition is good, my friends. Let your opinions be heard, and I think this has been
but there really needs to be a
great
big
video.
jump for Season 7, which we've talked about as well. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Let me know your thoughts on anything we talked about down below. But if you enjoyed the video, drop a like.
Cool video here, guys, from Sladra. I'm gonna link his channel. I'm gonna put all that below. There were some very good points in there. Obviously, also a lot of critique, like some of which I definitely agree with, and some of which I have a bit of other opinions. But yeah, cool video, man. Like, we'll see what's gonna happen, guys. I'm definitely looking forward for next week and the campfire chat. I hope you enjoyed, my friends. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments here, and check us later. GG, my friends. Take care. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.